Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October 5th, 2024 at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every movement by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years, depending with varying points of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, today we are going to take a look at the Annunaki. Okay, but before we get into it, we will start back at the top here. And Rachel Andrews, you are in with the gold. How you doing, Rachel? Glad you could join us. Ellie Moon is in the background there. Well, really, she's in the foreground. Storm's in the background. But Ellie is the moderator that, frankly, I rely on in a lot of ways to make sure I don't do something stupid and end up having coronary based on lack of food, amongst other little details. By the way, Ellie, just to be clear, I just finished a chicken dinner before I sat down. Now, we have Eternity Eternal is in with the silver. How's it going, Eternity? Glad you could join us. And we scroll down a bit, and there's Storm popping in. He is in the background making sure the things run properly, which, rest assured, with me can be a challenge. Now, I will tell you, any of the books that I have written, this one's the backbone. Any of the books that I've written, you will be able to get if you go to the Buy Me a Coffee link at the top of the stream, you'll be able to find it. Okay, as they come clear. Now, I've already got 8 books. I've already got 8 books in print, plus my consulting fees. Okay, as well as if you're just looking to support, which would be great, we've got a way to do that too. Now, you've heard a lot of things about this, about the Annunaki. I'm about to dump something in your lap that is going to absolutely blow your mind. Okay, hopefully not literally. If it does, sorry to see you go. Yeah, I know that was cold. But the nice little part about this is way back, we're talking 50 years ago, and I just found this out this morning. 50 years ago, I was telling people, look, man's ancestors were walking the earth when the dinosaurs were here. I kept getting told I was absolutely off my nut. Okay, well, I just looked on the internet, and if you believe anything on the internet, which I find questionable anyway, this just happens to work in my favor. According to them, mankind, like man's ancestors, not Homo sapien. Okay, Homo sapiens only apparently been here for about 200,000 years, but man's ancestors are in the millions of years old. Okay, now I will tell you what I've seen, what they've discovered now says, yeah, man's ancestors were, they say about, I think it was what, 65? I'm just going to look at the page I was looking at. Where are we here? Where are we? Okay, as per usual, my finding anything is going to be a royal pain in the neck. But what they had, look it up, be my guest. You'll find it easier than I will. Okay, the nice little part about it is there is no question that mankind, that the earliest ancestors of man that they've tracked back were alive. Now, here's the thing. You take a look at the evolution of things, and here's what I just got and just found out the other day in my notes. Okay, the Annunaki, which, as we know, are huge individuals, okay, ranging anywhere from 15 to 30 feet tall. Hence, you have the giants and the giants and the titans that come from the old stories. Thing is, mankind was small to start with, just like the little dinosaurs. But as we know, you flood a system with air, you flood an organism with oxygen, the brain thinks faster. It grows more intelligent, the whole 9 yards. Well, think about the increase in the oxygen levels and what it did to the lizards. Okay, and what it did to the evolution of dinosaurs. Which, by the way, from what I gather, aren't exactly the same thing. But the dinosaurs did rule the world for 165 million years, approximately. Funny thing is that the Anunnaki evolved, quite frankly, and this is something I have to change in Races of the World's book 1. In this one. Okay. In this, I listed the Anunnaki. Gravity works. In this particular book, if I take a look at where is page 1, when I was looking at this originally and pulling the notes together, I have in Races of the World, I've got the Anunnaki listed as an off-worlder. Are they off-world? Yes, much like the Mobians. But the Anunnaki originated here. Told you I was going to dump something on your lap. Now, they had the brain capacity. What they didn't have was the technological advance. They didn't have the technological ability to build their own ships. So, how did they get off the planet? Well, that's the easy part. Way back in the early days of mankind, when the giants were here, when the Anunnaki roamed. The Anunnaki are the one race that evolved here and went, look, we are way too smart for these people. This is going to be a massive imbalance. Well, literally way back at the beginning, as they were evolving, and we're talking millions of years ago, as the Anunnaki evolved, got bigger, got stronger, got smarter, the whole place caught the attention of the consortium. Like I said, this consortium has been here for a long time. Well, when the consortium arrived on Earth to take a look at things, they weren't intending on staying. But they came into contact with the Anunnaki. Okay. At the time, they were simply looked at as giants and titans. And yes, smaller animals looked at them very much, not exactly like gods. Okay, no more than anybody has ever looked at a Tyrannosaurus Rex as a god. Okay, the T-Rex was simply a big lizard. The giants were simply known as giants. They were also feared, by the way. So when the consortium arrived, they turned around and made contact. Okay, they made contact with the consortium. The consortium tracked down the giants, who were clearly ahead of the game, intellectually speaking. So the consortium ended up spending a lot of time here, just simply bringing the Anunnaki up to speed. Okay, I will, over the next little while, I will go back through my notes again. One of the books I am working on is meet the Annunaki, okay, which is going to be very different from what you've seen, in case you haven't pieced that together. Oh, wow. I just scrolled down there, and LA just looked. LA turned around and has just said, after SOR last night, we have 640. Yeah, absolutely. Absolute hats off to Spaced Out Radio. LA, the dragons were at the same time as the dinosaurs. Most dinosaurs didn't breathe any sort of negative, if you will, gas weapon. However, about 15 years ago, in England, they discovered a 3-foot reptile with a dual nasal chamber. One side was absolutely clear. The other side was charred black as pitch. Okay, so were dragons real? Absolutely. Dragons are another issue, and that reminds me. Where did my list go here? He's up there. I'm just adding. I've got to deal with the dragons and how they came about, but that will be for another day down the road. But dragons weren't exactly. They were parallel to the dinosaurs, and because of the way they were, okay, you don't find a whole lot. They've now found a small one, but let's understand something. At the time, what they don't tell you is some of the dinosaurs that were wandering around were absolutely bent on consuming skeletons. And I mean as in the bone. Okay, dragons are kind of a cross between a dinosaur and a pterosaur. Dinosaurs were land-based. Pterosaurs were the airborne. And then you had ichthyosaurs, which were the waterborne. Yeah, they were exactly, LA. They were alive at a similar time. It was an overlap. Okay, with the Annunaki, as they got oversized and their brains were reaching out way faster than what was anticipated. Even when this planet was built, they didn't think about the side effect of the increased oxygen. Net result. What, pray tell, is that? There we go. Net result is when the consortium got here and realized the intellectual superiority of the Annunaki turned around and went, we've got to get off this rock. Okay, we're going to create a massive imbalance here. So the consortium set about taking their technological expertise and built a ship big enough to take the Annunaki with them. Now, as we've been discovering recently, some of the Annunaki did not leave. Essentially, yes, LA. Essentially, you're looking at an in-between. Okay. Regarding the dragons and the dinosaurs, kind of like you take a look at the Annunaki. They were an ancestor of the humans, much like the Lemurians. Now, you get the Annunaki at a huge size. As the oxygen levels started to drop again, dinosaurs collapsed. Okay, they shrank. Not in one generation. We're talking over millions of years. They shrank. So did the dinosaurs. So did the Annunaki. Some of you, undoubtedly, some of you actually have memories of being a giant. I've talked to a few people that do remember it. These were the Annunaki before the Annunaki left Earth. Okay. But the Anunnaki, this is still their home. So yes, they are on their way back in. Okay, they're on their way back to see what's been going on. Like I said, this is likely going to go against everything you've been told. But I do have now, whoop. Got this one in here. What I'm writing down is another topic we're going to be going into. But like I said, I'm planning for down the road. If you have a topic, if you've got something that you would like us to cover, absolutely ask. Okay, either pop it into the chat room, drop me a line, doesn't matter. Okay, get word to me, and we will deal with it to the best of our ability. Okay, now what we're looking at this point with the Anunnaki, yes, they outstrip mankind in the way humans were evolving. They did outstrip them, head and shoulders, knees and toes, and all the way past the ankles, and up it goes. You get the idea. In any event, because the Anunnaki realized that they were going to be looked upon as an interesting problem, okay, what ended up happening is the Anunnaki went, hey, this isn't going to work. Get us off this planet. We cannot stay here. It will not. We won't survive, and neither will they. So the Anunnaki gave up dominance of the Earth and left it to the humans. Okay, because the humans were evolving, but they were much more suited to the size of the animals that were being left behind, and for that matter, to the trees. So when the consortium actually arrived in the area, they went, okay, let's build you a ship, teach you how to use it, and get you off of this place. Okay, they managed to get off. Now I will tell you, for the last several million years, they have been in a generation ship. Okay, and they have made regular returns to Earth to watch its evolution. No, they are not here to conquer. They are not returning to show up and say, hey, guys, you got it wrong. They will leave you wandering in the dark. Because from the Anunnaki standpoint, they understood. They start turning things around and going, hey, you got it all wrong. Mankind's civilization, especially at that point, would have collapsed. It would have done it a lot quicker. Okay, it would have done it a heck of a sight faster than it will now. If society were to all of a sudden face all these alien races en masse in the totalitarian outlook, okay, in the totality of it, mankind's entire spiritual path would go into disarray. Right now, I'm one voice. There are other people out there that are saying, hey guys, what you're doing isn't working. But we all of a sudden bring all of the ancient races, all of the off-worlders, all of the ancestors that evolved here before. Okay, the Mobians are another example of a race that evolved off Earth, or evolved from Earth, and then got off it. Now think of it. People have asked, Cowie, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. People have asked, what do the off-worlders think? Well, think of it this way. Earth is in a rather, I think it's unique, but there might be another one. I'm not sure yet. Okay. I do know that Earth is a rarity in as much as it has spawned 3 technologically capable races. Now, the Anunnaki could not build the equipment they needed. They didn't have the technology, but they did have a much more balanced outlook on their place. The Anunnaki have never seen themselves as gods, although some people looked at them and figured they were. Okay, you take a look at some of the people in history, and there are some pretty phenomenal individuals. Okay, one of the nice things about it is, unlike the Gaddafi, who you know is the Nords, the Reticulans, who you likely know as the Greys, and the Ennead. Okay, the Ennead, the Gaddafi, they both saw themselves as gods. And the humans went, hey, you're so much more powerful than we are. You're gods. The Anunnaki were ahead of the game and went, we can't stay here while these guys evolve. It isn't going to work. So they got help to get off the planet. Now, when we get down to the Mobians were humans that evolved and developed their mental capacity. Net result, they were able to manufacture the actual equipment they were looking for. Now, of course, we sidetracked there for just half a second. Why does nobody find the original ships that the Lemurians used to get off planet? Well, here's the funny part about that. Lemurians had the capacity to build, and I thought, what they desired to have. Net result, the ships they built on Earth were literally created from their imagination. They maintained it, off they went. Any ships left behind dissipated. Okay, with the Anunnaki, they simply didn't have ships of their own. The consortium had to come in, build them, and get them off it. So, now we have humans. Humans are technologically advancing faster than their wisdom. Net result, we've got technology coming out that is absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, it's also absolutely devastating in the wrong hands, which means people that don't think things through ahead of time. Anybody out there know somebody that doesn't think things through? But the Anunnaki simply looked at the world and went, this is the wrong size for us. So they did turn around and they did move to, and well, why didn't you tell me that ahead of time? Remember I mentioned that Earth is that our solar system is a trinary solar system. Well, it is. The Anunnaki. Now, there was a funny little story back in World Weekly News, way back in the 70s or early 80s. They came up with a brilliant conclusion. Dinosaurs didn't go extinct. They were stolen by the Martians. Well, the reality is they were here. But because of the fact that the third star in our trinary system is extremely high in oxygen, okay, making it possible to think then speak, making it possible with somebody the size of the Anunnaki to survive. So when the consortium built these ships, they first of all brought in cargo ships and moved them to another system. Okay, they also, because let's face it, what's the one thing at that size that you're really going to require if you're going to be 20, 30 feet tall? What's the one thing you're absolutely going to require on a planet in order to survive, other than breathable air? Any idea? Okay, I figure I'll give you a moment and I'll give you the answer, because I don't see the point in turning you around and leaving you in the dark. The one thing that they required was food. Well, the animals over there were great. They were evolving anyway. And we'll get to that on a different day. Okay. So, when the Anunnaki were transported, the same concept came along and grabbed a number of dinosaurs. Again, we go back to this funny little detail that you can look up in the Bible, okay, about an ark. Funny part about that is they collected the dinosaurs not to save all the dinosaurs. They left the massive majority behind. But on good authority, I was informed, in order to keep a species alive, you have to have approximately 200 mated pairs in order to avoid interbreeding, okay, and genetic deviation. Net result, when the consortium came in and collected up dinosaurs, let's face it, they were all over the place. So they didn't grab all of them by any means, or all of the different species, but they grabbed some of the bigger ones, herbivores and carnivores alike. Picked them up, massive numbers of them. Okay, now let's face it, dinosaurs at that point were not in any shape to identify that, oh, look, we're being invaded. We're being abducted. We are talking animals. You take a look at the Stegosaurus, about 35 ton of meat with a brain the size of a walnut. Well, in all fairness, 2 brains. So the whole ecosystem, the plants, the flora was already on the other planet. Okay, and some of it was volatile. Okay, so the Anunnaki were picked up here. The giants and the titans from here were picked up at their request to be relocated. Okay, over on the new planet. Okay, and yes, I don't know the name and or location, astronomically speaking. I can tell you in about 150, 200 years, mankind will figure out that Earth is part of a trinary star system. So when the Anunnaki were picked up, along with many of the dinosaurs, no, by the way, before anybody jumps on that, asteroid impacts, throws a whole pile of dirt into the air, sun gets blocked out, everybody dies. Okay, great, no problem. That still happened. You take, let's face it, let's just take one city. Okay, let's just take one country with 1 billion people. Who's going to notice a million people going missing? Okay, if you're not intellectually advanced, who's going to notice? So they were picked up and moved, and they were voluntarily colonized to another planet altogether. By the way, you're going to love this part. We go up here. Birth of the Wolf Pack. Okay, the science fiction, science fantasy novel. Okay, that I wrote. The reality of it is, this book, if you go to the top of the stream, you can find, through the Buy Me a Coffee link, you can find these books. You won't find them anywhere else, by the way, except for directly through me. With that in mind, okay, in the Chronicles, I am covering a lot of this kind of history, i.e., where did the Anunnaki fit in? How do your soulmates all lock together? It's all going to be contained in these books. Now, to be clear, Birth of the Wolf Pack is post-apocalyptic, after mankind's civilization collapses. It's the books that come before that and subsequently come after it. Long story, very complicated. Okay, net result, when we start looking at what the Anunnaki are, They are a race that first and foremost, they are a benevolent race. Okay. But they also understand intimately the imbalance that their presence on Earth would create. Okay. So by their request, they got up and vacated. Now, after they left, while they're out on their own planet and developing their own technology, or more to the point, copying the plans that the consortium helped them with. It's one of the few cases in recorded history where a race has been assisted in a major way. And the only reason that I know of that the consortium would do that is because the Anunnaki had already spiritually evolved to the point of extreme understanding of what their presence was going to do. Okay, so we're looking at a major shift here, but it worked with the Anunnaki. Okay, I know of one person, only one, and some of you know him. Okay, not going to tell you the name, but some of you know who I'm talking about. I know of one person that I approached the consortium with, or in regards to, that actually got picked up by the consortium and taken off world. Okay, one person. Bear in mind, I have well over 100,000 clients. Okay, that I've dealt with over the years. One of them, I managed to actually get the door open. So again, we are talking extreme rarities. Now, when we take a look at the Anunnaki are, well, let's face it. As a matter of fact, when I do go up and grab another coffee here, which isn't going to be long, I'll bring back a couple and show you the size difference. Because what I'm looking at is the difference in size of the Anunnaki was such that helping humans as they evolved wasn't possible. Humans are not big enough. Okay. And needless to say, if you're 15 feet tall and you're looking at a kid that comes up to your knee, okay, you're not going to be able to do much with them. You certainly can't hand them a hammer and go, here, this is how you do it. But they did, on occasion in the past, try and guide mankind to learn how to do certain things. Okay, there were a lot of people that have given mankind help. Okay, the Anunnaki are just one of them. Now, absolutely, guys, if you have a question, absolutely get it into the chat room if you're in the chat room. Okay. And, and I'll do what I can to give you an answer. Right now, we are sitting at 7. The neat part is there was a time when I was looking at it, when I was watching the numbers, and if we had 3 people, we were doing good. So we are evolving. The Anunnaki you've got male and you've got female. It's that simple. But they split the responsibilities quite nicely. Okay, but you gotta remember, these guys intellectually, because of the massive oxygen flow, they thought faster and recognized where strength was. Therefore, when they returned several years later, and I suspect we're dealing with a couple of million by the time mankind started to truly evolve. And yes, mankind had help, but the Anunnaki did come down, help mankind understand about the principles of surface living. Okay, things like how to grow, how to farm, how to build. Although they had to show them by example. Okay, and let humans piece together the rest of it. So all they did was gave them the back and the knowledge, not the wisdom to use it. Just simply, here's how to make it happen. Mankind, being built the way it was, became absolutely volatile. The Anunnaki could see this happening and chose to let mankind decide whether it was going to survive. Guess what, guys? In spite of being built for war, in spite of this, you're finally starting to get along. This is fantastic in all fairness. Okay, now, has man had some hiccups? Certainly. The Anunnaki, on the other hand, are the one species that I've come across that has never been at war with each other. Ever. Their brain actually grew way faster than what their body did. And net result, they understood things on a level so far beyond what humans or any other species have been able to manage. They never had a civil war. They never had that kind of conflict. Ferret, how you going? Glad you could join us. Long time no see, but very happy you managed to arrive. Ferret, the Anunnaki, there are some Anunnaki still here, but they are in what you consider either inner Earth or hollow Earth. Okay, and yes, some of them, of the ones left behind, and definitely a number of the ones not on this planet, absolutely ended up, quite seriously, using dinosaurs for steeds. And I will tell you that is one heck of a jousting match. Mind you, when you think about it, they were not a violent race. Did they utilize, hand-to-hand combat for exercise? Absolutely. But some of the Anunnaki are still here. Once in a while, you'll catch them. Oh, there we are. I appreciate that. You guys have actually seen younger children of the Anunnaki. No, my apologies. I doubt any of you have seen one, unless you remember it from past life. Do you remember a chap by the name of Goliath of biblical renown? Guy stood over 9 feet tall. Okay, he was simply a young Anunnaki. Okay, then we had Eddie McCaskill. Eddie McCaskill, if I recall correctly, was in the late 1800s. Yeah, I think, he had to be in the late 1800s. He was over 8 feet tall and was proportionally muscled. Okay, now we all know how Goliath died. Okay, that was at the Sling Stone of David. Eddie McCaskill, if you don't know, was an Englishman. Okay, and because of his size, this was back when, quite seriously, when black box cameras were available. Okay, pinhole cameras. And he was asked on the dock to pick up a boat anchor. So he picked the thing up and put it on his shoulder. Now, thing is, I don't know where you would find a picture of this. I know a picture exists. Okay, but Eddie McCaskill picked the thing up, and then the dock gave way. And when he dropped, he punched the anchor all the way through his shoulder joint, down from what I gathered just past the clavicle. Okay, net result, apparently, if I recall correctly, about 2 years later, he died of complications. Can't imagine what the complication would have been. Take an anchor, drop it through your shoulder, and see how good that works. But yes, there are still Anunnaki on Earth, but they are inside Earth. And again, this just goes to show you that other neat little thing. Okay, this planet has a lot of room on it. When people start saying we're running out of land, No, we're really not. Okay. Nathan, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. You know, the funny thing about it is that when you take a look at what the Anunnaki did, what they ended up doing was going, we are way too far advanced here. We're not going to throw it off balance. Because having dealt with the consortium, who told them flat out, not permitted to run the place, the Anunnaki had already decided that and just took that into heart. So, as they evolved, there were certainly a few that stayed behind, but they did not stay behind to take on a control position. They stayed behind because they just didn't want to relocate. Now, there have been countless cases where humans have been told, the area is going to die. Okay, it is going to be wiped out. And humans will sit there going, this is my property, I'm staying. Some of the Anunnaki did the same thing. Okay, they went, we don't desire to leave. Even when they were forewarned that there was a planet killer on the way in. As it turned out, it didn't actually kill Esau. You know her as Mother Earth, as Gaia, okay, or as Mother Nature. She lived through the impact. But the amount of devastation wiped out the oxygen levels, and the majority of the Anunnaki left behind ended up dying out from literally suffocation. The few that are here are still here because they managed to find a way to actually, inside Earth, generate oxygen pockets in caverns that are locked up. Okay, basically like what we've got on Earth. Wendy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Absolutely glad you did. The reality of it is, when we take a look at the inner Earth, now, in some of the more polluted countries on Earth right now, they have oxygen bars. Okay, same idea in the inner Earth. Okay, they built caverns where they are generating high levels of oxygen so that the Anunnaki can continue to live. They are surviving. Okay, you're just not likely to see them up here, primarily because, well, let's face it, our oxygen. You guys may think that the oxygen absolutely, the air tastes funny to start with. Well, the Anunnaki require way too much of it. But, like I said, they are the one race that has evolved. Now, if you go to their now colonized planet, not exactly their home, but where they have been for literally millions of years, they now have a planet-sized ship inbound to Earth. They are not going to be stopping by and going, plunk, guys, we're back. Okay, they're not going to pull that off. The chaos it would cause is way beyond functional. So what you're looking at is 3 races, all originating from Earth. Okay, humans, which were, humans as you know them, were literally a genetic acceleration, courtesy of the elephant. Okay, but they were accelerated, and you'll love this. Now, do understand, somebody out there is going to be sitting there going, why should we believe what you're telling us? And my polite response is, why does it matter to me if you do? I am simply asking you, question what you've been told. Okay, humans evolved with a little bit of help, a couple of nudges along the way, Hence why we have the evolutionary gaps. The Annunaki evolved of their own accord and just took off on their own. They literally went, we're not staying. We need something that's a little bit more suited. And of course, rest assured, if your tallest trees are, are 40 feet tall, in major copses, if you're already 20 to 30, you're not getting much shade. Okay. So they had to go to a place that was extremely high in oxygen, which is what the consortium did. They went, okay, let's bring the arcs in, move them to another planet, to another star system, way out of range, and set them up. Left them with enough stuff to work with, and the teachers. Okay, now, as they evolved, they developed their own society. The thing they never developed was war. Okay, by the way, war has never worked well for anybody. Now, with that in mind, little early, but hey, what the heck? I'm going to go grab a coffee. I will be right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we are back. Now, priorities first. Well, actually, in all fairness, family is priority first. Well, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The neat part about it, the neat part about it with the Anunnaki, they are the only race I'm aware of that never developed war. Okay, they literally have grown up. They, like the Lemurians, abolished war, but they didn't start off that way. The Anunnaki never developed it. Okay, quite frankly, they don't have a word for war. Okay, a lot of words for silly or confusing, but oh, there we go. I'm playing the board game. Sorry, with the kids, they sure like to make up rules. No doubt. That's the nice thing about kids. On the flip side of that, every one of us are children. Okay. I am about to launch a campaign, another D&D campaign. Finally got my brain back working so I can. So for those of you that are considering the option of having a stroke, don't take the option. Okay, I'll tell you, it's more of a pain in the neck than what you might think. But the Anunnaki, they moved to the new planet, stayed working as a unified group, okay, and developed their own, they developed their own civilization. Now, we used to play mousetrap. Okay, and then we got cats and they did it. No, a mousetrap used to be a lot of fun. Okay, but yeah, I have no doubt the kids have made up their own rules. Never a problem from that end. The Anunnaki developed their own civilization, but they did not develop the physical manifestation ability that the Lemurians developed. So what you end up with is a society, and when I have the money to do it, I will eventually build a house suitable, well, it won't be suitable for the Anunnaki. But one of the things I would love to do is literally build a different size house. I'm going to sit on that until I've got the cash flow to do it. But it's going to be nothing but an attraction, as it were. I've got it all laid out in my own head. I've got a number of things I'm working on, not the least of which is literally turning finances around. Now, the funny thing is, I've dealt. Ultimately, Woo, you're absolutely right. Woo's just going, board games are a lost art with families, maybe because of tech advances, social media, etc. That said, my youngest son, okay, came out the other day. We had a little time to ourselves, time to kill. And he came out and he goes, Dad, can we sit down and play Monopoly? And again, some of you guys my age anyway, remember Monopoly. Nowadays it gets played in McDonald's. But the Anunnaki developed a very peace-driven society. They never had to go through the war and the bell curve type thing. They didn't have this hiccup. But they're the only species I know of that never did. Okay, in their case, it was literally LA's go, my kids are in their 30s and 40s. We like card games and board games. I remember sitting down with my grandmother. We used to play a game called King's Corner. And at this point, I'd have to look up the rules for it again. Storm goes, Cards Against Humanity. The only person I've ever seen do that, using Cards Against Humanity, was Gambit off the X-Men. And he was dangerous with cards. But that could take us down a rabbit hole and a half. What I found out from the Anunnaki is, look, humans are going to evolve in various different patterns based on what your geographical location is, what your weather conditions are like, but you're all the same. Okay? And the one thing the Anunnaki, the ones that stayed behind, tried to help with was to help people, not just the humans, by the way. The Anunnaki, amongst the Elephant and the Calder, did turn around and become teachers. Okay? The Anunnaki, and by the way, we're not talking teachers like humans have. We're not talking about teachers that go, do it my way or I'd beat the heck out of your hand. The Anunnaki were teachers going, this is the way it works. Now, if you're not going to do it that way, that's okay. Figure it out. This is the end result you're aiming for. Now, most societies on Earth have not pieced that together. Unfortunately, it really is a complication. The nice part about it, when we start looking at a race that is, 20, 30 feet tall. They had to, they had to develop, and they brought technology into the inner workings in order to be able to survive. Okay, so yes, they absolutely utilize that kind of input. I honestly, now the game you guys are talking about, Cards Against Humanity, I don't honestly recall it. I do recall Apples to Apples. That was an interesting game when I was growing up. But to be frank, I ended up, and I don't think it's evolution, but my mind was working way too fast for me to enjoy some of those games. I ended up turning to chess, which I've forgotten so much about. But Dungeons and Dragons was what ended up holding my attention. In case you couldn't figure it out, I've been playing it now. Well, 1986, so almost 40 years. Yep, almost 40 years. At twice a week, on average of twice a week. Okay. Twice a week for 40 years. So you're looking at where, just because I'm nosy, we take 52, which is 104, times 40. And I'm looking at playing that's averaging. And there was a number of years when we were gaming 5 and 6 days a week. Okay. But that's 4,000 games. Neat part about it, and that's just a minor little sidetrack there. But when you go to the Annunnaki's adopted world, okay, plants are absolutely insanely large. And you think the snapdragons are dangerous for insects here. Understand the insects there, you take a look way back in, I believe it was the Pleistocene era, we had dragonflies with a 2-foot wingspan. Picture mosquitoes the same size. Okay, they don't sting you, they impale you. Okay, so on the Annunnaki's adopted world, okay, or colonized world, I think is a better way to put it. Because when they got there was no dominant technologically advanced race. So the Anunnaki were settled in and they learned how to sort things out. Bear in mind, as they are not a combat race, they developed methods of hunting that were quick, clean, and to the point. Yeah, they do have places online where you can play. The reality of it is, like Wu's just going, I do miss Dungeons and Dragons. It's been over 15 years. They do have places online where you can play. I'm still a tabletop gamer. Okay, that's just the reality of it. No, okay, and fair, no problem there. Number one, the Anunnaki are not fallen angels. They are also not God beings. The Anunnaki, in a nutshell, evolved on Earth. But because their brain ended up evolving so fast, they realized they had to get off the planet. They could not survive. They could not survive in a balanced world at their size. So when the consortium showed up, just checking on the evolution of Earth, on the evolution of Etah, when they showed up and the Anunnaki were there, the Anunnaki did not cower. They looked at it and went, how are they doing that? So when the consortium made contact, the Anunnaki said, look, we are going to throw this whole world out of balance. Is there a way to get off it? Net result, cargo ships were brought in, took out a number of the Anunnaki. Okay. And how many they took, I honestly don't know. I had on very good authority that you would have to have 200 mated pairs in order for the species to not breed itself out of existence. So when you're looking at a race that you're taking all of these Anunnaki, some were left behind. They moved into inner Earth or hollow Earth, depending on what name you want to throw on it. Okay, where the consortium did build oxygen chambers for them to handle the breathing, much like what we have now, oxygen tents for people that do not get the oxygen. Oxygen tents, oxygen tanks. In inner Earth or hollow Earth, what the Anunnaki ended up with was adaptive equipment designed simply to keep them alive. They had no interest in controlling what was going on down there or on the surface. So some Anunnaki got left behind. They did not all get moved. But at the same time that the Anunnaki got moved, many giant animals, and for that matter, plants, that were flourishing because of the oxygen levels were picked up and taken as well in order to provide a stable food source. Now, the Anunnaki had to learn after they got there, well, in all fairness, they learned amongst the dinosaurs how to turn around and kill large animals. They never developed war, never had an interest in it, but they did have an interest in self-survival. Funny part, and the other thing that I'll just go sideways on for a moment. Number one, if we look at the term a God being, okay, if you as an individual take a lighter and you go to the Congolese jungle with the lighter concealed and just flick it and have the flame come up while you're running your hand across, you are now, according to the pygmies, you're a god. Okay, in that respect, the Anunnaki could be looked at as gods, but they certainly didn't develop the ego for it. Okay, as far as fallen angels go, that's a bit of a bone of contention, but the Anunnaki are not angels in the first place. Okay, at this point, the Anunnaki are considered off-worlders, but they evolved in the first place on Earth. So hopefully that answers the question there, Ferret. And no, there will not be a quiz on this after the show. Okay, what I'm looking at here is simply helping people understand every race that's out there, and this is what's got a lot of the off-worlders up in arms. Humans are getting off the planet again. Okay, but this is the third time they managed to pull it. The Anunnaki had help getting off. They left voluntarily. The Mobians, evolved on Earth. They went and colonized simply because they decided it was time to go. So they departed and headed off-world. Okay, net result, on the other side of Earth, on the other side of the sun, this solar system, in a directly matched orbit. Okay, that was done quite intentionally. But Mobius, and yes, NASA knows about Mobius. Okay, there's a planet in exactly the same orbital path as Earth, but 180 degrees, the other side of the sun. You'll never see it from Earth. NASA, on the other hand, knows it exists. Okay, so when the Lemurians departed, They didn't take all of them with them. Some Lemurians got left behind. Okay, same as some Atlanteans did. By the way, some of the Lemurians were Atlanteans, or more to the point, were adopted by the Atlanteans. There is a lot going on that is not being published. Okay, well, that's not 100% correct anymore. I'm in the process of getting it published. I've got a number of books coming out. Okay, that I'm working on right now. I'll get them out as quick as I can. The reality of it is finances are still a royal pain in the neck. But it is coming. So we're working on a few options of making that a little easier for people. But the Anunnaki themselves never developed wings. They never developed the ability to fly, or for that matter, the ability to manifest things in a physical sense using their mind. Okay, even their construction capability didn't come until after they got off Earth. The consortium simply came in with heavy-duty cargo ships and moved them. But we are talking cargo ships that really were interstellar arts. Okay, and I know you know that term. Okay, when the consortium got here, they loaded the Anunnaki, some of the dinosaurs, and this was not done in one ship. There were multiple ships, okay, that were brought in order to move some of the dinosaurs, some animals from other planets. Okay, so when you get to the Anunnaki's colonized planet, the animals there are, to say the least, a little bit of an extreme. Now, I said I was going to grab something and should have grabbed it when I was up front. But don't have it here. I'll be right back and I'll show you what you're looking at. So don't go away, guys. Now, I brought these guys back because of one little detail. I was talking to somebody one day. I don't know if he came in here or not. Nathan. I just got back here. Nathan is asking, has there been a hidden exodus of humans leaving Earth in the last 250 years? Absolutely. Fair, not a problem. Thank you so much for dropping in. Glad I could answer the questions you had. The answer to your question is, using the term exodus as in a mass bunch of people leaving, there's been a trickle out, yes. Okay, and it is still going on. But I will tell you, they're not going to the Anunnaki's colonized planet. But here's why I brought these guys. Okay, now that is the size essentially of a human. I was talking to a chap one day, okay, and he told me he was a naturally conceived Anunnaki hybrid. Now, get this. There's a figure essentially the size of a human. Here's an Anunnaki. Now, can we see a problem with natural conception? Okay. I mean, you take a look at the height. There's your human. There's the size of an Anunnaki. Okay. Now, yeah, they vary in size. But can you really see somebody actually being able to have a naturally human-wise conceived on a half-breed Anunnaki? I'm thinking there might be a problem. But that's why I've got that and why I did that. And why I brought that out. And yes, I am going to be working with more of these. As a matter of fact, I think that's tomorrow. I just wanted to show you what you were looking at. The Anunnaki are not small people. Okay, they really aren't. But they are an interesting group. Thing is, they never developed war. They never went at odds with each other. What they did do was try and help people understand that the same thing, the same message that I keep bringing back, that we can, working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, the thing that we have to realize is every single one of you brings something unique to the table. Okay, the fact of the matter is, one of the things that the off-worlders worry about is Earth has produced 3 very combat capable races. Okay, one of which is volatilely active. Okay, now the Lemurians who evolved on Earth they've got the capacity to go problem solved. Okay, from a physical standpoint. The Anunnaki never developed war. But all you gotta think of is grab one Anunnaki with an Anunnaki-sized frying pan and slap you with that. See how well that works. You don't have to be a combat-oriented at this size. Okay, you're still going to have a problem. As you can see, we are talking about a pretty extreme difference. But the Anunnaki, when I talk about them returning, I am not talking about them returning as in they're coming back to land on Earth and say, hey, we're here. They are going to do a flyby. They may, and I don't know if they've decided, they may orbit the Earth once and then take off. But understand, depending on what they choose, they may or may not be visible. Probably will be, but they'll chalk it up. Humans at the time will chalk it up to an asteroid getting caught in the gravitational field and slingshotting away from Earth again. Okay, it's a scientifically viable option. I just don't get the feeling they're going to require it. Now again, guys, if you've got questions, absolutely put them in the chat room. Okay, if there's a topic you would like me to deal with, absolutely list it. Get word to me one way or the other. Below every one of the streams here, and I really should check. Okay, but if you go to the Buy Me a Coffee link at the top of the chat room at buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ, you'll be able to get to any of the books I'm working on and the consulting and contact reach. Okay, the nice part about it is that we are looking and we are right now in a position on this planet to either turn this into heaven on earth or an absolute barren wasteland that humans are going to have a heck of a time surviving, if they manage at all. Now, bear in mind, some humans, some of their ancestors survived the meteor blast that took out the dinosaurs. Okay, but they were able to get undercover and didn't require as much food. So we are looking at a lot of change happening. Right now is the time for you to really look at your past memories. Some of you may remember a lifetime as a giant. Okay, and bear in mind, this is only one sample of the figures I've got. Okay, but some of you may remember a lifetime like that. The odds are, if that is the case, the odds are you were Annunaki. Okay, if you remember to hear, the Annunaki were here, but they evolved on Earth. If you think about it, if you think about it, as things have evolved, mankind has been drawn to the stars forever. Realistically, to start with, they feared the daylights out of it. But as intellects grew, and for a time, there was a period in Earth's history, I think it was in the mid 1800s, where I think it was called the era of enlightenment, or the age of enlightenment. Okay, I'd love to know what happened to the drive for that. Okay, because in today's world, mankind does not look that far. Okay, I am simply positing questions for you to think about. Okay, am I going to sit here and prove what I'm telling you is right? Sorry, I leave that to you guys. But I've had enough, well, no, I'm not sorry. I've had enough corroborating, confirmation that, corroborating reports to tell me that what I recall and what I've been seeing is real, not the least of which is that they've just recently, I just found it today on the net, apparently they found out that yes, humans walked amongst the dinosaurs. Now, I will tell you, the odds of a human bringing down a T-Rex, not really good. Okay, but there was a neat little story that came out years ago called Dinotopia, where humans and dinosaurs lived under the same roof. As in, dinosaurs were still the beasts of burden, much like horses are today. Okay, humans did at one point live amongst the dinosaurs. They did not, to the best of my knowledge, tame them. I wouldn't put it past the Annunaki by any means. Thanks for the corroboration there, Nathan. And like we were talking earlier, okay, dinosaurs evolved, dragons evolved as well. The difference there was dragons evolved with an intellect that was insanely high. And many of the dragons now live in the astral plane. Okay, they figured out how to shift themselves into the astral plane, which, by the way, means you go playing around in the astral plane. Don't be surprised if you get eaten by a dragon. They are still carnivores, by the way. I couldn't name him Gary. Gary's the name of a Gary's the name of a snail. But the reality of it is this: the Anunnaki are very real, but they are the one race that has no inclination in taking over anything. Okay, the Zarkon would love to take over everything. Okay, they don't care who wins the war. They just want to rule whatever's left. The Anion were quite happy being told they were gods, as were the Gedefni. Okay, when they showed up on Earth at different times. Because in order of appearance, okay, when you're looking at races that could be considered godlike, the Anunnaki evolved here. The Ennead showed up after the Anunnaki were gone. And after the Ennead were chased off, the Gedefni arrived. Okay, and then they were chased off. But both the Ennead and the Gedefni, when humans said, hey, you guys are gods, they went, bonus, what do we get? Okay, the Anunnaki just didn't wait that long. They spotted it ahead of time and went, our size is going to create a problem. So they up and bailed. But they made a mass exodus before the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Okay, so hopefully this is making sense. And yes, I am in the middle of documenting everything we've been talking about as far as the Anunnaki goes. Okay, so it will come out in the near future. I'm done giving people dates when it's going to be out. When it gets out, you'll find out. But clearly, I've got to start tying projects off. The really sad part about it is I've known this for years, only got caught up way too much and spent way too much money on people that turned around and said, you can't do it. You need a professional. Yeah, I probably did. Just not the ones they pointed out. Okay. And this is why I've got different projects now that I've got 15 that I've created a problem with, but I'm tying off. So what do we got here? Just because I gotta get started on it, I'll start tonight. We have to get the Anunnaki done, the Talon, and of course we're working on one on numerology and expanded look. I am documenting the configuration for the OTE drive. Now here's the funny thing. What I'm going to be putting to paper is not going to be schematics. It's going to be, well, it won't be schematics like a engineer would use. Okay, I'll include as much in the way of simple diagrams as I can get away with. Okay, but all of these things are little booklets I'm working on that it's time to start getting them out. Don't want that one, I want this one. Now, I will warn you about something there, Nathan. Having a pet triceratops, has one drawback. If you've ever been around sheep, they butt heads. So do triceratops. Okay, and you don't want them running into you. But we are looking at major changes right now. And yes, people are starting to wake up and go, hey, there's something going on here. Don't wait for the government to tell you it's coming. Yes, the Anunnaki, they are on their way in, but they're not landing. So don't get your hopes up. Besides that, for them to get their ship to land on Earth, we might have a problem because their ship is a little bigger than the moon. So you can see where this may be a problem. At least I hope you can. Oh, little bit of a heads up. The November edition of Positive Perspectives does have a short story submission. Okay, was not written by me, but it was submitted, and I was asked to print it. Or more to the point, I offered to print it. They went yes. Okay, because like I said, it is well. Oh, those are the. I keep doing that. Gotta be the Xenon. I know who you're asking. What you're asking. And my hands would work, that'd be so much easier. Yep, I was right. Keep getting the two names on the loft. Nathan's asking, what is the race of mecha type on the way? That's the Xenon. Now, the Xenon, they were, when they first started to arrive in the sector, they were absolutely intent on wiping out all of the bionomes. Now, here's where things got a little screwy, because everybody was gearing up for war. That's how it was them that drove the Teclec here to try and gather what they could to protect their own world. But when the Xenon came into the sector, in all fairness, I think they're a sector over. But when they got into the area, quite seriously, and call this what you will, I've had all kinds of people tell me that, oh, he's just full of it, he's just making it up. Absolutely, call it what you will. Okay, the Xenon were bound and determined to wipe out every bionome available, every organic, until I end up talking to them. And there have been a lot of negotiations of treaties and what have you, saying, hey, don't do that sort of thing. But it wasn't until I managed to get it across to them that, guys, look, you Xenon, you rely on biological evolution, on the randomness of it, or the seemingly randomness of it, in order to come up with new ideas where you guys can enhance your own abilities. Of course, their leaders are going, well, yeah. I says, well, how's that going to work if you wipe out every bionome available? How is that possibly going to work? Thank you very much, LA. So after multiple meetings, we're still working on the details of them, but they are being brought into alignment with the consortium guidelines, with the idea that, hey, yeah, you want to come in, you want to do your research, you want to take a look at people, do your scans and figure out what new ideas you can come up with. Knock yourself out. Hands off the merchandise. Okay. And besides that, the nice thing there is the Xenon actually don't require blood samples and what have you, because they don't work with blood. Okay. They can do most of their research via scanning and what humans would call three-dimensional printing. A lot more extensive, but same idea. As far as I know, not a lot. I know I've talked to them. I doubt very much there are many. Most humans will look at a typewriter that's talking to you and go, no, way too weird for me. It's just another life form. And besides that, we have the other little problem. Xenon can tell, because of their sensor arrays, they can tell if a human, if any corporeal, is panicking. And panic shuts down logic, in case you hadn't noticed. Okay, so I will not say there aren't any doing it. I just doubt very much there's very many of them. Okay, and yes, this leaves that open door of, always just keeps imagination going out of hand. Call it what you will. I was told literally, I like the way it was put. I like the way it was put by my brother, and seriously, by Spock of the original Star Trek. Okay, so I just look at the evidence I've got. I know what my memories are. I know what the corroborating evidence is I've received from other people, often unrequested. Okay, so the Xenon have a little bit of a glitch. They still see bionomes as massively inferior. Now, in all fairness, the Sarkon, the root race of the Strazazian, the Tormenon, of try English, Strazazian, the Tormenon, and now I'm pulling the blank. Oh, and the Kamalian. Okay, the Sarkon do believe they should rule everything. The Xenon still are very much in favor of wiping out, but we are making headway. You know, what I think the best movie that I've seen so far is if you take a look at the movie The Transformers. This gives you an idea of what the Xenon are capable of. But like I said, they rely on bioorganisms to make new adjustments. They're not that creative from the natural standpoint. Okay. Now, the other nice thing there, Nathan, where it comes to the Xenon, if they desire to wipe you out, you probably won't know. One thing we can safely say, mankind is not going to get any weaponry from the Xenon because the Xenon have this really bizarre idea. We give you a weapon, never mind you trying to use it on us. We'll just make sure it blows up when you go to set it off. What we're looking at is an evolutionary path right now. Mankind is sitting on the doorstep of a phenomenal tomorrow. But it's time we stop looking at the differences of each other. Skin color does not change the fact that you're still the same people. If you weren't the same species, rest assured, we wouldn't have people that were half African American, half Japanese, okay, or half white, half East Indian. You just wouldn't have them. Although I did just find out that some genius has, and I use the term really, really loosely, has decided that taking animal genes, animal cell structures, and working and developing them and splicing them into a hybrid plant animal mix is a wise idea. Now, to me, this is just the makings of a nightmare beyond compare. They tried doing a thing about crossbreeding and hybridizing different animals in the past. But why? And I'd love to know, aside from curiosity killed the cat, why would any scientist claiming to actually think even consider taking meat, like taking a carnivore and splicing it or making a hybrid carnivore apple tree? I can see a disaster here. I don't know about you. Humans have to learn to realize they've got to recall that everything in the human body is built in it's a tiny example of the way the universe is laid out. This is not done by coincidence. Now, yes, many planets did evolve just as a natural evolution of time. Earth itself, if I recall the numbers correctly, is growing approximately 2 millimeters in diameter a year. Okay, by the amount of cosmic dust that is settling on Earth, by the meteor impacts that are bringing chunks to Earth. Okay, Earth is growing. Okay, so no, we are not in fact running out of room. We are actually gaining more. But humans have this idea that they're supposed to own it all. My personal opinion, humans are supposed to be caretakers of their area. You are a caretaker of your home. I'm doing an absolutely pathetic job of taking care of my home. But I am now, finally, 61 years in the making, I'm making it happen. Okay, we have an opportunity here. If we choose to put our heads together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, are the Annunaki a threat? No. Okay, unless you count driving a threat. Technically, they could accidentally run into Earth, at which point you don't need to worry about it. It'll be over. So we are looking at a point. It's time to start getting your ideas. Start talking to people about what is going on in your area. Okay, now, I am not going into the political arena. I will tell you this. Okay, where it comes to the politicians, be aware of who you are electing. Okay, make certain of two major factors, in my opinion. Number one, they're looking for the good of the country you're living in, that you're in a position to vote. Okay, make sure they're looking for the good of the country, not the good of a company or of their own pockets. Okay, that's first and foremost. Just my opinion. Now, can I tell you who to vote for? Certainly. Vote for the person you feel will work best. I'm just cautioning you. Pick somebody whose drive is the good of the country or the good of the community. Pick somebody who is young enough that they have to deal with the outcomes of their own decisions. These are the two critical qualifiers in my eyes. Okay, and bear in mind, a global government is not a dictatorship. Okay, a global government is a unified world where representatives, much like what the UN already set in motion, lay out a series of plans in order to benefit the species, not their pocket. Okay, and this is why now every member of the consortium, including the Annunaki, okay, every member has a one world government because it works. But like I said, we are not talking about a dictatorship. Because the sad reality of it is this: somebody living in the Arctic has no functional clue of what it's like to live in New York City. Okay, but, and that is something, as a matter of fact, should do that. Time to start putting that stuff all on paper. I got way too much going on up here, and I've got to slow it down, which you'll notice that's not working well. Okay, but before we run out of time here, I do want to point out, I think it was already pointed out, but this is Saturday, meaning that Nathan has a show tonight. I have no idea what his topic is going to be, but I do know it comes on at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Okay, I strongly suggest you drop in and give him a listen. Okay, and that reminds me, Nathan, if you would be kind enough to send me a little bit of information because what I'm starting to look at is a number of different advertising options. Okay, but if you would be kind enough to give me something to work with, just a short little blurb, okay, that I can actually let people know, aside from the time and date, if there's anything on to do with your stream to get people's attention to it, absolutely drop me a line because I'm starting to work on a few ideas. Okay, I'm twisted, what can I say? Don't have enough on the go, so I figure I might as well have something more. Now, the Annunaki, really nice people. The one thing you got to remember about them is they're 20 to 30 feet tall. We are talking people that are 2 and 3 stories tall, according to man, according to human measurements. Now, with that in mind, you're not going to catch an Annunaki sitting in the local bar. Just not going to happen. Okay, what we've got to remember is every one of you has strengths and weaknesses. It's time we start drawing on the strengths and making things happen. Now, let us see if we take that and refresh. I'm just refreshing my display to see what I'm looking at here. And look at that. To me, this is absolutely amazing. Okay. We are, I'm looking at this, and we are holding a steady close to 10 people live, which is so much better than what we were at a few months ago, where we were looking at Wendy, that's just terrible. Wendy's popped back in. She goes, come on, why did I get the short end of the stick? At 5'0". Well, I have only, in all fairness, Wendy, I used to work with a lady that made you look tall. She was only 4'10". But just don't forget, Wendy, great things come in small packages. Mind you, so does nitroglycerin and thermite. But the reality is, for all of you, it is not the size of your package that matters. It's the size of your heart that's going to make the impact. This is just one of those things that we have to realize are, everybody has a strength. Everybody has a weakness. Okay? But we are taught so much, by so many sources, that you've got to be better, bigger, taller, faster, quicker on the uptake. What happened to the idea of that concept? Stop and smell the roses. It's a great concept unless you're allergic to roses. But we've got a lot of opportunity here right before us. Never mind what the so-called moguls and industry leaders are telling you. Okay. Absolutely, Wendy, it's not. The driver is not the vehicle. Okay. But I will tell you, the vehicle does affect the way you drive. Okay. I will tell you, my brother, he's passed away. He, for the longest time, rode a 1,000cc motorcycle. Then he ended up buying an Impala, an absolute boat, as some of you well know. He tried parking the Impala in the same stall that he used to park his 1,000cc motorcycle. It didn't fit. But the reality is, when you look at it, everybody's pushing for bigger, better, faster. I am pushing for one thing. Okay. We have 640 subscribers now. Okay. I know of literally some sites, some groups of people that have billions of people. Absolutely, we should, Wendy. Wendy's going, I think we should absolutely do the best we can where we are in this world at this time. Absolutely. And this is why I'm not looking at this stream and going, this is all about me. This actually has little to do with me. I'm simply turning a light on. Okay? But if we take a look at it and we work together, drawing on each other's strengths, supporting each other's positively identified positively identified projects and endeavors, we can make this world so much better in spite, in all fairness, of what the major moguls are doing, what the governments are doing. We can, as a people, unified, we can turn this world back around. The question is, are you interested in it? Oh, thank you very much there, LA. LA goes, there are doers and watchers. This channel does. The funny thing is, I've met three types of people. You've got about 1% of the population that make things happen. You got about 4% of the population that watch things happen. About half of those will take the hint and get on and make things happen. Then you've got about 95% of the population that sits there and wonders what happens. What happened. Okay. I was born with an ability to see, to extrapolate very effectively what's coming. Okay. Some people have told me I'm pessimistic. That I'm just pessimistic. Well, I looked it up. I actually looked up the definition on the internet. And I will tell you, I am one of the most advanced, in my opinion, one of the most advanced and well-developed pessimistic cynics available. Yes, I run a stream, we call it Positive Perceptions. Thanks so much to LA for that addition to the name. And I put out a free newsletter, Positive Perspectives. Okay, I absolutely, in spite of being a pessimistic cynic, I absolutely feel if we choose to, or more to the point, when we choose to look at the positive, we can turn this world around. Okay, there's another saying I heard somebody say and put one day in that line, LA. What they said was, it would be really nice if those people that are standing there saying it can't be done, it'd be nice if they would step back and get out of the way of the people doing it. We have right now 640 subscribers. Okay, in time, quite honestly, the sooner the better. I would love to see us break the 1,000 mark. Mind you, in my case, I'd like to see us break the 650. Okay, it's one step at a time, but here's the thing. We can keep going around in circles and following the people telling you that you're never going to amount to anything. I bought into it myself. Okay, I was literally told nothing I ever do will amount to anything. And yet I got told the other day by a chap that the fact I could see that one thing the Xenon were overlooking is why they are now looking and figuring out what parameters they can work with. No, I am not better than one of you. Okay, I'm barely functional as me. But the reality of it is that when we put our heads together, not if, when, then just like in ancient days, the clans can unite, families can get along, communities can unify, and countries can be born. There was a time when the United States was told the 13 colonies would never agree to get along. Well, guys, I'm not great with geography. So I don't know if you got 50 or 51 states at this point. Okay, but that's a heck of a sight more than 13. So apparently, that which cannot be done is being done. Now it's a question of, are you going to sit back and let it get derailed by these geniuses that come up with brilliant ideas? Hey, there's artwork. Let's destroy that because that'll take the manufacture of it away. Okay. You know the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. Well, the Anunnaki left the planet not to get out of sight. They left the planet so mankind could evolve. They did, and the few that stayed behind did help with some of the thinking process, but they didn't give them the tools. They went, here are the basics. Now you figure out how to make them. And they did get guidance. Absolutely. Yeah. LA goes 50 states who still don't get along but can agree in places. That is the idea. That is literally the backbone of how this world is going to unify. You don't have to agree with everything that somebody says. But I will tell you this. The one thing, and it cost me an entire friendship, I'm not going to tell you who with. It cost me a friendship because when they made the comment, I reacted in the only way I knew how. Okay. And that was somebody told me my opinion was wrong. Okay. That I won't even remotely tolerate. Okay. I spent my life buying into what people told me I couldn't do. This is why I'm in the mess I'm in now. Not because of the fact they did it to me, but because of the fact I took it to heart and went, I can't do it. Net result, I relied on other people who could have done it and didn't. Okay, the Anunnaki. Now, when I say I look up to the Anunnaki, the physical side of it is pretty black and white. You know, standard sized human, standard sized Anunnaki. Okay, you can see why I look up to them. Okay, this is what's called a real ankle biter. Okay, but no, the reason I look up to them is because they never developed war as an option. Okay, just like in the 60 years my parents were together, not one argument do I recall them ever having. Okay, now, like I said, I am not the be all and end all here. Okay, I'm no better than any one of you. All it is. Thank you so much, LA. I appreciate that. Okay, with that in mind, guys, just been told we're down to 5 minutes. Now I believe we are looking at creativity tomorrow. Tomorrow is, yep. Okay, tomorrow I will be back at 4:30 Pacific until 6:30. We are going to be looking at the use of miniatures and creativity. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to have a whole pile of them laid out. That said, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. Really appreciate it. Great questions. Bring more people. Absolutely. I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive. Well, that's taking a little longer than normal. I will see what I can do, Nathan. Oh, okay, there we go. So we are apparently still sitting here. Nathan, if you're still listening in, I will do what I can. I do have to go and finish dinner. I got a couple of things I got to